Welcome, FNusa57 here. Once again, I'm back on my Xbox Series X. In today's video, I will be showing you how to unlock the dreaded I would walk 20,000 miles achievement in a single journey event on the game Gems of War. Now, usually I don't post videos for this game, simply due to the fact that everything's already been covered, and most are self-explanatory. However, this achievement's been in the game for quite a few months and was near impossible to unlock, as even with the changes, it still only has a 0.11% unlock rate. So, what you need to do is you need to do this now. Like the video title says, the new troop is completely broken, and I 100% bet that they will nerf it sometime very soon. So I'm going to try to construct this video in a manner that at least you'll have the base information for how to do this achievement, but you want to get it done right now on the current journey event that has just over 2 days remaining. I've done a bunch of testing and found that this is pretty much the only way to do it. Shout out to Skelix, who gave me the idea for the team, and we have actually been able to pull this off. Now, I don't have a lot of upgrades or anything done. I'm not the highest level, I'm not the best player, but for this particular achievement, the new journey is in the Hellcrag, and the new guide that they released is absolutely broken. It is insane. So, as you can see, I'm almost at the 20,000 miles traveled. It's 19,710. We basically have to do a couple of battles. With the guild and we have been able to almost finish the event, and currently I have the highest amount of miles traveled at the moment. So, let's go ahead and get into exactly what you need to do, and then why it's broken, and how to use it just in case this troop remains broken. So, for the journey event, when a journey event pops up, it will be a specific zone with multiple stages. You'll get tokens every day. That sounds pretty much the same as normal, but it will be a specific troop type and or a specific mana color. In this case, it's constructs plus brown gems. So you want to find a way to maximize your turn count without maxing out the turn count. And I highly recommend, if you're going for this achievement, you go into the shop and you buy at the very least the lower potions. So you will need to save up some gems for this, but I would recommend that you save up enough gems, at least around 2,000, 2,500, to be on the safe side, depending on your upgrade levels, and obviously what the journey event is at the time. But more than likely, you'll need to purchase about 2 or 3 of these 500 gem packs with the potion of power and the extra 20 journey sigils. That's just to be on the safe side. Then regardless of the journey event that's active, you're going to want to go in and pick the battles depending on what their rewards are. So you can always look at it and see if there is a really terribly annoying troop. If there is, obviously you don't want to do that fight, but it will tell you the base reward if there's a bonus, like this one has a bonus of gold, if it has a stat bonus find, and of course the mile count. So in this case, it doesn't have a stat bonus because those are very hard to find, but you can see I have a increased attack, life, armor, and magic bonus. And we're going to go ahead and do this with the 40 mile bonus on just a single battle, because you want to get as high a mile count as possible. So for my team right now, I have the solid brown banner, and we have Defiance, then the new Pathfinder troop, Defiance, and Defiance again. So let's take a look at this troop. Her ability is absolutely insane. It is Petrifying Shot, which deals damage to a single enemy and creates 3 brown gems boosted by all construct allies with a boost ratio ×3. And for traits, It's not really important on the first one. The second one is alright, but then obviously what we want for the achievement and for the journey event is the Pathfinder, which depending on the ascensions at Mythic, you get 3 times miles. I should also mention none of my troops have had the metal upgrade. If you do give them the metal upgrade, then their magic would increase, which would make this even easier to do. So keep that in mind. This is the troop that is currently broken because it is basically almost unlimited turns in this situation. So Defiance also has deal damage to an enemy boosted by enraged allies. If the enemy uses brown mana, deal double the damage. And when you fully trade it, especially Gift of Defiance, you give 4 to all skills on all allies when matching 4 more gems, which allows you to basically infinitely boost the stats up to the absolute max. This unit does start off as a common unit, so it will take you a while to get it, or at least a lot of copies to get it to Mythic, and then obviously trade it and max level it. I do not have the medals, but of course if I did the medals, even the first level of medal, it would gain more magic. Obviously, there's a few other teams depending on what journey event you're doing, but you want to focus on a team that does not take a lot of turns to actually win the round. So I'm going to go ahead and start this battle just so that you guys can see. And basically, since I'm up here at the ridiculously high level 600 plus enemies, I really cannot afford to make a mistake. But the way that it does the miles is after a certain turn count, every turn you take reduces the amount of miles that you get from that battle. Now, previous to this journey, it used to be even free turns or turns where you matched 4 or 5 gems in a turn and you got, air quotes, extra turn. Those used to count towards the turn count meter. Thankfully, though, those do not count towards the turn count meter currently, which is a blessing because that allows us to actually get this achievement. So, assuming you're playing with the team that I have on this journey event, to show you how broken it is, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get the Pathfinder's ability set up. And this is where people go wrong because they start really matching other gems, and we don't need to do that right now. Once the Pathfinder's ability is unlocked, and the reason why the Pathfinder is in the second slot is to allow the attack bonus to keep increasing on the first slot. But now we want to have some brown gems on the map. Ideally, as many brown gems as possible. Of course, this is very annoying to fight a extra turn deck because they can very easily get extra turns. Thankfully, though, that wasn't too terribly bad. And we'll go ahead and take that extra turn and now proceed to use the Pathfinder's ability, hoping for the best case situation, which is where it's going to create enough brown gems to go ahead and drop down. And of course, Defiance is now gaining its boost. The only thing you have to do is you have to keep an eye on the layout of gems to make sure that there aren't any 4 or 5 mana matches that you can do safely that will not reduce the number of brown gems on the field. You also want to take a look at the opponents and target the opponent if they're all equally dangerous, the one that's on the top, or if it's a gem raven, you want to target the raven first. In the case of this particular journey, though, you want to target this Pathfinder. Arguably, if the Pathfinder is, or guide, whatever you want to call it, is on the enemy team, do not even waste your time on that battle. Just do the other battle, because if you make a single mistake, it is almost impossible to recover from, because basically what the enemy team will keep doing is literally spamming this Pathfinder's ability like I am, and it will just never end. Now, occasionally, you'll create enough gems, but they won't fall correctly, or you won't have them lined up right, and you'll have to take another turn. but hopefully you're not up against a foe that has a setup that gives them infinite turns. And then you can do one of two things. Using this team setup, you can continue to just spam the Pathfinder's ability. There are other units and other deck combos that can work like this, so just keep that in mind. Obviously, if you see a 4 or 5 gem match that you can get without reducing the number of brown gems on the map, go ahead and go for it. But that is the basic idea of what you wish to do now. Even if you're doing this on a different journey event, you want to do it by constantly getting those 4 or 5 gem matches, or a deck that constantly gives you free turns, extra turns, because those turns do not actually count towards the penalty for how many miles you get from a single battle. So keep that in mind. This achievement is doable. I would recommend you do it right now, though. But when you're playing, you have two options. You can continue to spam the Pathfinder's effect and just kill the enemies that way. Or once you get the skill boosted enough for Defiant, you can go ahead and use Defiant and then use your second copy of Defiant to just go ahead and murder generally the 2 or 3 remaining enemies. Also, it's a good idea. Now you can see I'm up to 19,830 miles. So we got the full mile value for it. And anytime you see one of these battles that rewards a little bonus, whether it be like attack or whatnot, it's always a general idea, especially outside of this journey. It's a generally good idea to go ahead and do that battle. Also, any battles that reward ravens are super helpful, because the raven will give you 2 more of the entry tokens, and let's just say that those entry tokens can get very expensive if you're forced to constantly buy the 500 gem pack. So basically, following this strategy, if you're doing it in the current event, or following the extra turn strategy if you're not doing it in the current event, should give you the best case odds of actually being able to successfully complete the 20,000 mile requirement, which in my opinion is honestly a little bit ridiculous. So I know there isn't a whole lot of time left on this event, but I wanted to go ahead and share this information with you just in case anybody was thinking about getting the achievement and hadn't started the process yet. There is totally enough time to do it. You can literally get this done in one day if you have the gems and are willing to go ahead and actually play in the event, as long as you're getting the new Pathfinder. So obviously sometimes things go wrong, like in this particular situation where the gems just didn't quite fall right. And if you have that happen to you, what you need to do is you need to get the mana built back up. But unfortunately, the worst thing that you can do, or the worst thing that you can have happen, is to have your Pathfinder silenced, because now you can't spam the ability. So this one we're not going to get as many miles from. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to endeavor to get rid of a couple of those units. I'm just burning a couple of turns, but that's unfortunately what we have to do, because now you need to get the Pathfinder back to operational status, which is not as easy to do. So in this case, with this team, I will focus specifically on the brown mana and any 4 or 5 gem matches that are available. It does become very dangerous the moment that you lose your Pathfinder, though, especially on a team like this where they have the ability to just ruthlessly destroy us. And with this silence, that is kind of the problem at the moment. So as soon as we are now back with our Pathfinder, we actually stand a chance. But this is probably a lost battle just with the way the gems fell. Yep, because we just lost the Pathfinder. So honestly, not worth it. If you lose your Pathfinder, you're gonna have to retry. And if you're having super difficulties, then you might want to spend one extra token to go ahead and make sure that you have the skill bonus. It's not a foolproof strategy. It depends on the cards, but it is the best strategy that I have seen in order to complete this. So once again, I will leave the brown gems alone. We need as many of them on the field as possible. Except despite my best efforts, I left the brown gems alone and it did not work for me. Now we can go ahead and retry doing the whole buff. And this should be, if everything goes according to plan, the absolute last fight that I need. So in a case like this, you need to prioritize the really annoying units with silence, because otherwise the exact same thing is going to happen to you. And if the exact same thing happens to you, then you can guess that this is probably going to be another example of a game over. But before you abandon the mission, at least try to kill the Raven, because if you can kill the Raven, it will give you 2 of the sigils, and at least that will keep you in the fight, so to speak, because you will be able to go ahead and simply do another battle. So this battle, yeah, this battle is extremely annoying just because of the units involved. So I actually have to watch out for skulls, and then we'll try, and that's probably not going to be able to be recovered from now. But even if you do lose the Defiance above your Pathfinder, it is still possible to win. You just have to be even more careful and get a little bit luckier with the way the gems fall, simply due to the fact that you're not going to have the attack bonus, and you're not going to be creating quite as many brown gems. You'll only be creating 9 as opposed to 12, which is still enough to pull it off. But then again, a lot of times that happens, and again, you're just wasting your time. So if you run into a battle that you're stuck on like that, you don't want to have to do it a lot, but a lot of times you'll have to actually increase it to an epic battle, especially for the later missions, because it's just the enemies are too strong. The card layout is kind of broken. So in this particular case, this is one of those battles that I'll have to spend the 2 tokens on. I should have done that in the beginning because of the silenced enemy. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to specifically make sure that you're targeting that enemy that does the silence. So this is an example of having one of those ultra dangerous enemies, and the ultra dangerous enemy in this case is the enemy that can do silence, which also happens to prioritize the same mana color that we need. So that's what's making it so incredibly difficult. This is basically the ultimate counter to the team comp that I'm currently using for this event, is if you have an enemy unit that can silence your Pathfinder. The only other counter is if the enemy team has the Pathfinder, or if they have a multi-turn, free turn, like Goblin deck. But by adding that extra 50% bonus, we're making better use of our stats, and I have a little bit better luck this time on where the gems are falling. So this time I did not get silenced, and we should be good to go. Just gonna follow that same process, except for the fact that I'm prioritizing the unit that has the ability to silence, because we need him dead. And sometimes you'll get the gems, but they won't actually fall in a manner that gives you the mana. So you may need to do a gem match. It all just depends on your team. But honestly, this is like ridiculously easy. And you can keep upping the damage of these units if you want. Otherwise, once you feel comfortable that they can kill the enemy, you can just use Defiance's ability a couple of times, and murder the enemy. So then you'll see that we got the full 105 miles traveled, plus the 4 attack bonus for all future missions. And we are sitting 1 battle away from completion. So just take a look at what enemies there are. In this case, I don't even know how to pronounce this troop's name, Chalcedony. Since that enemy is on that team, we are not even going to do that battle, because if we mess up a single time, then it is game over. For most battles, you should be able to do them with 1 sigil, by the way. But eventually, the battles will get so tough, or you'll just run into a very unfortunate set of circumstances in a battle. You will need to spend 2 of your sigils on those battles sometimes, so just keep that in mind. This is a slightly annoying team comp with the ability to get some extra turns, so it is worth noting that that is a dangerous situation as well. As a general rule, it would be better to go ahead and leave as many brown gems on the map as possible, but because the above Defiance still needs some brown mana, we wouldn't have enough brown mana to actually get our ability back for the Pathfinder, so it's a better idea to just spend that 1 extra turn. And then, like, we have a gem match there, which if you get lucky enough to match an exploding gem near one of the gargoyles can be super helpful. So that's a new thing that was added to the game that actually makes it a lot easier to complete some of the achievements, due to the fact that the bad gargoyles put a bad status effect on the enemy team, and the good gargoyles give you a good status effect on each one of your troops. So right now for us, the bad status effect on the enemy troops is super helpful, especially in this case if you get something like I got that gave that one enemy the Hunter's Mark, so he took even increased damage from skull matches. I'm not doing any editing and skipping around on this, simply because I wanted to show the entire process, at least for using this particular event, and I hope that you guys will be able to get the achievement. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, if you're trying to do this in a future journey event, at least you have an idea for what it is that you're looking for. And there we go. Super simple, super easy. If you ever have any questions, just feel free to ask, and I will do my absolute best to help out as much as possible. This is also a good, fast way to level up, by the way. And then you'll get to the 20,000 miles. And after you get back to the screen that says 20,000 miles, you'll get your achievement unlock. If you do not see the pop-up for the achievement, what you want to do is you want to go to the official club and just double check, because sometimes the achievements will unlock, but they don't give you the notification. You can also double check your miles traveled under your guild, and that will give you an idea on the leaderboard how far you've traveled. So hopefully everybody takes advantage of this, and if you have any questions, I will do my absolute best, like I mentioned earlier, to help you out. Until next time, make sure you help me out if you enjoyed the video by slapping those like and subscribe buttons. More importantly, my brothers and sisters, thy legion, stay frosty.